And we're back, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, finally. Storm is dying down a bit. Hopefully, we do not get knocked out. If we do get knocked out again, we will just record it off stream and then upload an edited version of all of our segments together. But as it stands right now, we are back.
Alright, we pretty much just left off on us talking about Hayden's performance in the show, but I think we can move on beyond that.
Yes.
As far as the story beats itself...
Rest in peace, Ned B. Best droid. Passed away. He died in the same way K2SO died in Rogue One.
Yeah. Yep.
Also, Tala went out pretty well.
Yeah.
Her death flags were always there.
Yeah. Considering that she kind of almost narrowly escaped dying in the previous episode.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, yeah, but the way she went out was pretty good. Thermal detonator. What was I gonna say? I do like, it was kind of framed, and I think this was done entirely on purpose. The same, when Reva and all the stormtroopers and purge troopers showed up to the bunker, I believe it was intentionally framed like how it was in The Last Jedi.
Yeah. So, I do want to point out one thing. Is like, Obi-Wan took on a lot of people. Or a lot of stormtroopers that came in.
Mm-hmm.
My thought was, if anybody complains about Obi-Wan being able to defend against this many stormtroopers, have clearly not played a Star Wars game.
Not just have not played a Star Wars game, has just not seen Star Wars The Clone Wars. This episode was a return to form for the meme, General Kenobi. General Kenobi! But yes, no, this was definitely a return to form for his general side with his military planning, which was always top-notch in Star Wars The Clone Wars, and it seems that he still retained that edge even now,
Yeah.
which was really good.
Because I better not see anybody complaining about... I mean, yeah, he's, like, a little rusty, but at the same time, I mean, come on. Like, anybody, like, the whole time through that scene, I was like, oh yeah, playing a Star Wars character, I could take them all.
Yeah.
I can take them all. Like, yeah, a whole group of stormtroopers just come racing in. Oh yeah, that's easy. That's an easy level.
But it was really good. I really like how they trapped them into a bottleneck, which made it easier.
That's what would make it easy. I mean, honestly, in like open space.
Yeah, it made it easier for one, the refugees to fight, but two, even when they got injured, it was easier for them to fall back without getting like hails of gunfire.
Yeah.
One thing that I also really liked was how I hate to say this, but he manipulated Reva so hard.
Yeah.
He straight up just manipulated her hardcore.
I mean, it was like, all the truth.
Like, he straight up was just like, so I'm gonna give you what you want, but I know damn well you're gonna lose badly and maybe die, but that's not my problem. But it was really good. I like how he did deduce the fact that the reason why she would know that he's Darth Vader is because she's at the temple, which I think was the one that made the most sense, because any survivor would know that he was called Lord Vader during that time, and he looked exactly like Anakin Skywalker. And of course, if you work for the Empire and you just see this guy be like Lord Vader, you're gonna be like,
who's that?
Yeah. So I really like that.
Because that was the whole thing. That's the whole part of his character. Is like, he's this towering menace and has no face.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for someone to know who he is, that's a big deal.
Yeah, he usually kills most people that come close to finding out who he is. I think right now in the comics, the only person that knows who he is, do you remember the body double that Padme has during the prequels?
Yeah.
She knows. And the only reason she's alive is because currently her and Vader's goals align. Thus he is allowing her to live. But as soon as those goals do not align, he will kill her for knowing his identity.
Yeah. Not even like that one stormtrooper in the EU that decided to become his friend?
He killed him.
Oh, he did kill him? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm vaguely aware of that story.
It was either he killed him or he died. He's dead. He dies.
Okay, he's dead.
I don't think Vader killed him. I think he just died.
Okay.
But, yeah, no.
Yeah, no, I think back on that storyline because it is the funniest thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
Like
in canon, Tarkin and Thrawn believe that it's Anakin because of certain mannerisms and maneuvers he's done, which they only have seen Anakin Skywalker do. They believe that Darth Vader's Anakin, but they don't have solid proof.
Okay.
The Padme's body double knows. I believe Dr. Aphra, who is an archaeologist / smuggler of sorts, I think she may know. And I think that's about it. Obviously, Bail Organa knows. Obviously, Yoda knows. Obviously, Bail Organa's wife knows. Owen knows. So no, Owen doesn't know.
No, he wouldn't know.
Owen doesn't know. No, Owen doesn't know.
But, and really, this whole show is to get to the point where Obi-Wan will find out, which of course happened in Episode 2.
Yeah. So yeah. One thing that I really liked about the Reva versus Vader fight scene was that she stood no chance so badly that he never used his own lightsaber.
Like, honestly, that was the most I've seen the Force use in an actual fight.
It was devastating.
Because, I mean, you can be as good with a lightsaber as humanly possible, but it's clear that with how much ease that he's able to manipulate the Force with, she stood no chance whatsoever.
No. And she went through every phase of that lightsaber. She went from single to double-bladed to spinning.
To the fucking helicopter saber.
To the spinning bladed and the dual wielding. She lost every single one.
I will say, I'm glad that the helicopter saber was only there for 3 seconds just to be utterly just trampled on.
Yeah, no.
Because that didn't serve her in the fight any better because it is.
Oh, of course.
It is a dumb design.
I mean, the point of it is it's supposed
to make them fly.
No. The point of it isn't to make them fly. The point of it is that you can't parry it. If it's spinning that fast with your lightsaber, it's on you, that you drop the lightsaber. And then it just spins through you like a saw blade.
Yeah, okay.
But anyways, yeah, she got absolutely destroyed. And it was amazing. Once again showing that Vader is not one to be trifled with, that these Inquisitors are just not even close to being on his level whatsoever.
I mean, she wasn't even that strong to begin with, honestly, because...
I mean, we haven't even seen her in a single lightsaber duel.
I mean, just through implication from the
oh yeah, brothers. From the others, it was implied that she's just not strong in the slightest.
Because the other brothers have been like, "Oh yeah, you're just a street rat. We found you in the gutters.
Yeah, which makes
sense.
You're
nothing to us."
Because unlike the rest of them, who were all Jedi Knights or Jedi Masters who had fallen to the dark side, Reva was a youngling, meaning she never even got to the Padawan stage of her training. Because here's the thing: if you make it to the Padawan level of your training, you can be a good duelist. Cal Kestis and Kanan Jarrus are two very good Jedi duelists, and they are only Padawan level in their training. Being Padawan level means you can... I mean, technically Ahsoka Tano as well. Ahsoka never technically gets past the Padawan level, but she is undeniably one of the best lightsaber duelists in the galaxy.
Yeah.
But the fact that she didn't even make it to that level really shows how inexperienced she is. How, like, her usage of the Force is also just not good. I mean, we saw it against Leia. She couldn't pull off a move that Kylo Ren was effortlessly trying to use. Like, it clearly took her a lot of concentration, and she couldn't break through Leia. All of her Force skills that we've seen have been rudimentary at best. She was completely outclassed.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing carrying her is her rage.
Yeah,
that's the one thing that powers her through.
Which is good when you're a Darksider, but rage will only take you so far without the skill to back it up. And unfortunately, when you're fighting another Darkside, rage doesn't help you because they're all angry all the time. When Darksiders fight, rage doesn't necessarily work all the time because everyone in that fight is angry all the fucking time.
Especially because, you backstabbed Vader Yeah, he just got a massive Saiyan like boost there.
Not even that. Like, to be honest, Darth Vader did not care that Reva betrayed him, because that is the point of all the Inquisitors. All the Inquisitors' the inevitable point of the Inquisitors is to try and kill Vader so they can become the new apprentice. So her trying to kill him at that point isn't what surprised him or disappointed him. The problem, and I don't think he ever was angry because he expected it, it's more that's just like, her rage will just never match the rage he feels at the loss of his wife, the loss of his children, the fact that he believes his master betrayed him, that his order betrayed him, that his Padawan is gone, because...
Yeah, I was more talking about his rage towards Obi-Wan.
It's not even just towards Obi-Wan. It's a culmination of things. His mother is dead.
I would say that the biggest thing in that moment, though.
No. His rage is constantly focused. Whenever you see Vader, his rage at the forefront of his mind at every moment, every waking moment, is the fact that he lost Padme. That is always at the forefront of his mind before anything else. Always. And then the tier goes from Padme to Obi-Wan betrayed him, to he lost his children, to the Jedi betrayed him, to he lost Ahsoka, to... Actually, he lost his mother is probably in the top 3 as well, but there's a laundry list of things that have contributed to him falling to the dark side, and those things are always at the forefront of his brain at every point in time. Not to mention his pain, not to mention that his suit is incredibly painful.
Oh yeah, it's actually digs into him, as shown in the first episode. It also kind of constricts his movement a bit.
Yeah, no, it does constrict his movement. It is incredibly painful. His existence is a constant state of pain and agony, which only makes him more angry, which will only remind him more of the fact that Obi-Wan betrayed him, and remind him more of the fact that at Mustafar he lost Padme. It's a feedback loop of rage, meaning that really, no one will ever be more angry than he is. Except for Palpatine. But that's because Palpatine has just sheer and utter contempt for life as it is. That's the only level of rage that Vader can't beat, is Palpatine's sheer contempt for any sentient being to really just live.
Yeah.
But all the other Inquisitors can't match that rage. So Reva's rage at revenge is literally nothing to him. Which is why he just effortlessly just batters her all over the place. And then, of course, the Grand Inquisitor returns, which obviously he returned.
We saw that coming.
I mean, if you watched Rebels, you know he's alive. And also, it was noted that Utapauans, which he is an Utapauan, have 2 stomachs, so... And also, the actor that plays him said on Jimmy Kimmel that he had 2 stomachs, so... Yeah. He's alive. But, yeah, he's alive, and obviously he's taken back his position, because, let's be honest here, in a fair fight, the Grand Inquisitor would beat the shit out of Reva. He was a former Jedi Temple Guard. He is the most powerful of the Inquisitors, and the only one that could, in some level, rival Vader, but not by much. He was just better than the other Inquisitors. So, if he fought Reva in a straight fight, he would beat the shit out of Reva.
Yeah. And honestly, as soon as you see, oh, Vader just promotes her just like that, it's he knows something.
Oh yeah, no. Every Darksider knows that the Darksider next to them will betray them at any point, so they are always on edge about it.
Yeah.
Even the Grand Inquisitor, he got caught by surprise, but he was not surprised that it happened. Because, I mean, look at him that he's back. He's just like, yeah, you did do that, but I don't care. Every Darksider knows that the Darksider next to them is trying to kill them. So even when he promotes her to Grand Inquisitor, he's like, yeah, I'm doing this, but you will still try and kill me at some point. It's just a matter of whether it's sooner or later. And I really like that they showed that, because that is why the Rule of Two was instituted to begin with by Darth Bane all those years ago, because when there was giant Sith orders that rivaled the Jedi Order in terms of numbers, they constantly fell apart because, they all would kill each other, because that's the point of the dark side. That's why Bane created the Rule of Two. A master to have the power, and the apprentice to desire that power. So inevitably, the apprentice would kill the master and obtain the power, and then the master would take on a new apprentice who would then covet that power. With the stipulation that every time an apprentice kills the master, they not only are more powerful than their master in the Force, but their knowledge of the Force and of the galactic state, or of the state of the galaxy, is also increasing. That's why Palpatine is so powerful by the movies, especially even by The Rise of Skywalker, why he's so powerful. He's come from a long line of fear, and he is the most amped of them all.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just about to think it's about time to wrap things up here.
Yeah. I like seeing Haja return.
Yes. Especially after literally that same day getting referenced in Miss Marvel.
Yes. Kumail Nanjiani is definitely getting those Disney paychecks. But I like seeing Haja. Leia in this episode was pretty good.
Yeah.
I liked how she basically became the scene of her crawling through reminds me of Lego Star Wars and how you have to switch to like a smaller Lego character to get into vents. And I was like, oh my god. And I also liked how they used restraining bolts, and that's how they controlled Lola, because that would make sense. That's what happened back in the original trilogy.
Yep.
But overall, I'd give this episode about a 7.5 out of 10.
Yep, 7 for me.
Yeah, pretty good episode.
Yep. So now we'll be diving in. Let's dive into some DC here. I want to dive in first with
Joker
2. We're actually getting more Joker 2 news.
Yes.
Somehow.
So Lady Gaga,
which
Harley
is
Quinn.
Yeah, it's I will say, thankfully we're not getting a college age Harley Quinn.
Yes, I am actually really thankful that it's Lady Gaga, which to me at least assuages one of my fears that this would be like a massive power imbalance type thing.
Yeah.
And that if it's maybe that this Harleen Quinzel maybe is just insane already. And she just meets Joker in the asylum. And I think Lady Gaga is the perfect actress to play this.
The fact that this is actually going to be a musical, that's crazy.
Honestly?
I think it could work.
I think it could work.
Like,
Lady Gaga, obviously. Phenomenal singer.
Like, you have to have her sing if she's going to star in a role.
Oh, of course. And Lady Gaga, phenomenal singer. She is definitely... I have no fears at all about Lady Gaga in this role. She is going to kill it.
Oh, yeah. But, see, my biggest complaint about musicals is that they can't carry a story. I have no fear of that whatsoever.
How could you say that when there's Les Miserables... or Phantom of the Opera, or the fucking Lion King?
I've just seen way too many bad musicals. I feel like
that's your problem. You haven't seen good musicals. I have seen many great musicals.
Oh, that's right. You are in New York, yeah.
I have seen many great musicals, so I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
So no, I've seen so many bad musicals that's like, oh, the fact that we're a musical means that we can basically have no plot.
You have not seen Sweeney Todd, then?
Oh, no.
He's fucking uncultured bat. He hasn't seen any of the classics.
No, I'm not afraid of this because I think this is going to be a good sequel.
Yeah.
Musical.
I think it's going to be a good musical.
It's going to be both a good musical and a good sequel.
Yes. But I'm excited. And actually, no, I'm... Hold on one second. You have not seen... You were a theater kid!
Okay.
And you haven't seen Sweeney Todd?
No.
You haven't seen Phantom of the Opera?
That I have seen, but I've only seen the movies. And those were bad, so...
You didn't watch... Oh my fucking god! Okay,
I'm mostly talking about movie adaptations of musicals, okay?
That doesn't fucking count!
Exactly.
Anyways.
Exactly.
Oh my fucking god. Uncultured. Anyways. I believe it.
Yes.
I am still a bit worried because, any Joker Harley Quinn plot still needs to balance the fact that this is, at the end of the day, an extremely toxic and abusive relationship.
Yeah, it could easily go the way of, like you know how those couples are. The ones that idolize this type of toxic relationship. It's like, oh, you're the Mr. J to my pudding type thing.
Yeah.
That's very prevalent, and it's...
Yeah, no.
Very concerning to the people who propagate that kind of
so I am still obviously concerned. But having the casting as Lady Gaga assuages that, because I'm going to be perfectly honest here, I do not believe for a second Lady Gaga would ever entertain playing a character in such a role.
Yeah, and also just the fact, like, last week, we wouldn't have thought for a second that this would have been a musical.
Oh yeah, no, that was the furthest thing from our minds, but I like it. Musical, I think, actually works because you know what? I think the Joker could sing.
Yeah, no, Joaquin Phoenix probably could, honestly.
Yeah, and to be honest, even if Jared Leto played the Joker, it would be really good because Jared Leto is actually a very good singer.
Ah, man.
He was in 30 Seconds to Mars.
He was.
And they were a good band.
I just don't want to give Jared Leto any more roles because he's a garbage human being.
I was going to say this. I actually thought about it for a second, and Jared Leto may be actually one of the best actors of all time because he's been in so many great movies. He was in American Psycho. He was in Fight Club. He was in Morbius.
You're propagating that meme now. You're on the bandwagon now. I finally got you on the bandwagon.
He was in Suicide Squad. He's been in some of the greatest movies of all time. That has to count for something. Yeah, but he was in let's see. He was in American Psycho. He was in Fight Club. He was in Requiem for a Dream. Come on, man. He was in Blade Runner 2049. He's been in some very good movies.
Yeah.
And he's also a good singer. That is undeniable.
So it still doesn't save him from being an awful human being.
Oh, of course. But, I mean, so was Kevin Spacey. Are we going to say Kevin Spacey wasn't a good actor? No. But he is a shit human being.
But, yeah. I will say, I was not expecting this last week when we first brought up this movie. But if they want to take this Joker, solo universe and just experiment with it beyond, audience expectations, then the rails are yours, Todd Phillips.
Yep.
Go all out, honestly.
Honestly, I want them to go as far as they can with the whole musical angle. I want them to go full balls to the walls when it comes to musical.
Do you think we'll get a scene, in a musical, them going into, what is it, the Lazarus Pit?
No.
What's the one that they go to? Both Joker and Harley Quinn. What's the one I'm thinking of?
It's Ace Chemical Plant.
Ace Chemical Plant.
I was about to say, the Lazarus Pit? You think Ra's al Ghul is in this?
No. I'm trying to, what's the pit that
it was the Ace Chemicals. It was Ace Chemical.
Okay.
So basically...
I'm mixing up my bowls of goo that people drop into.
Yes, it was the Ace Chemical Plant.
Okay. So you think we'll get a scene of them singing as they fall in and then come out rebirthed as a full musical? You think we'll get a moment like that? Honestly, it's too good.
It is good. I'm just wondering if it would be realistic enough. Because Joker has been fairly grounded. They didn't do any fantastical superhero anything. The closest you can get is him getting fucking brutalized by that truck. That's the most superhero thing we've gotten. Outside of that, it's been pretty grounded in terms of feats.
You could still make that work. I mean, if anything, that would... because that is the thing that bleaches Harley's skin, right?
Yeah, she goes through the same thing he does.
Yeah.
I don't believe she can actually, unbleach her skin. He can't.
Yeah.
So...
Either way, that musical setup is too good.
You're right.
It is possible to make that work. And it's right there. It's literally in a silver platter. Mm-hmm. That part of their origin story is right there. And that could be a really good musical moment.
Now, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll see a child Bruce Wayne in this movie?
I hope not.
Part of me thinks we will see him.
We most likely will.
But just in the same way we saw Thomas Wayne, he will be there as a thing in the plot, but not a main part of the plot.
Yeah, because really the biggest complaint that anyone has towards the first movie is the unnecessary inclusion of Bruce Wayne.
I felt it was actually pretty topical, all things considered. I felt it was pretty perfect to actually have Bruce Wayne be involved. at least the Wayne family be involved, because...
No, the Wayne family itself, that was included really well.
But why wouldn't Bruce Wayne... If you're already doing the Wayne family, you might as well throw in a Bruce cameo. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, that's just easy.
The biggest complaint was the killing that ruined the pacing of the ending.
I think the killing was the best part of having them in there, as it frames the killing as the ultimate hubris of the rich. Because you have to remember, this was an anti-capitalist, anti-rich movie. And who better to have as the biggest focal point and the biggest outlet for that rage to be let out upon than the Wayne family?
Okay, that's a pretty good hot take, actually.
I thought it was
That's
perfect. I thought it was thematically perfect.
Yep.
Like, because the boiling over, like, the giant riot at the end of the original Joker is a class-based riot.
You know what? That's probably...
Who else would they kill if not the richest people? And think about it. Think about that honestly. Think about it. Do you honestly think the two richest people in the city would get away in a riot like that and not get shot to death or brutalized?
Yeah, no.
No, it was perfect, in my opinion. It was the perfect capstone in terms of what that movie was showing, in terms of how the city was going to explode.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think this movie is going to be really interesting. My thing is, what would be the antagonistic force of this movie? Because Joker 1 didn't have a real antagonist. They were shitty people, but none that you could say was a villain. And I think they're going to continue in the same vein.
They could go in the same way, because...
But I want to know what could be the antagonistic force of this time. Because I believe that, once again, if anything, the villain is going to be Gotham itself.
Yes.
Just like how it was in the original movie, as well as in The Batman. But I want to know what aspect of Gotham are they going to tackle. Because we can't retread that Gotham is a poor hellhole that doesn't treat mentally ill people well. And that has already been thoroughly...
and the corruption element has already been dived into in The Batman.
Yeah, so I wonder what element of Gotham are they going to go through. Maybe it won't be a Gotham film. Maybe it will be an Arkham film.
That's what I was thinking. Is like maybe Arkham is the focus this time.
It could be Arkham. And I believe it has to be Arkham. It cannot be Blackgate Penitentiary. It has to be Arkham.
Because he was in Arkham, right?
They did not say it was Arkham, where he went.
Okay.
It's just a place that we presume is Arkham. But then again, it was pretty pristine, which does not match any description of Arkham I would give.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if Arkham will be the antagonistic force of it all. And if that's the case, I'm wondering if they're going to make the head of Arkham Hugo Strange.
Yeah. Ultimately, because, again, this has had very little crossover, aside from Batman himself, with any other IP from DC.
Yeah, no, the only crossover is with Batman itself. I did not see any Easter eggs to any other aspect of the DC universe, and I think they will continue in that vein as well. I do not think we're going to see any crossovers with other aspects of DC. I believe it's going to be Batman-centric, and by Batman-centric, I mean it will only tackle anything necessary, meaning it will be the location of Arkham and Gotham, and maybe one or two characters from the comics.
Yeah.
Because the only comic book characters that appeared in Joker was the Waynes and Alfred.
Yeah.
Everyone else was an original character. Even the police officers. They could have said that it was Harvey Bullock and Jim Gordon as those officers, but they didn't.
Yeah.
So I think they're also going to go out of their way to make it so that any connections to Batman are only loosely connected.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about this movie.
No, I'm not even going to put it in cautiously. I'm hyped for it.
I'm cautious just because the Harley Quinn Joker dynamic can go very wrong very quickly.
We said that about the first Joker, though. Just the whole concept of the first movie.
Well, see, my problem was never about the concept of the Joker going wrong. The problem was always an external force being the fact that the Joker inspired. The character inspired what could be right-wing incel rage. Nothing, and it had nothing to do with the contents of the movie. Because you have to remember, when Aurora, Colorado happened, nothing that the Joker did in The Dark Knight actually corresponded to how the Aurora, Colorado shooter did what he did.
Are you talking about the movie theater shooting or something else?
The movie theater shooting.
That wasn't in. I always was of the understanding that that wasn't inspired by The Dark Knight at all.
It was at the Dark Knight, and he dressed up like he looked like a fucking clown.
I was under the impression that that was just an officer screwing up just because he had bright red hair and he went to that showing just because it was the most populated one. That's what I was always told. He was told, like, because it was an officer screw up that said, "Oh, he dressed up like the Joker when he just had bright red hair." That's what I was always told.
Yeah, but still, the connections to that.
I mean, the connections to the underlying behavior itself is there.
Yeah,
it's just not. And I don't think he was like Joker inspired.
I don't think he was Joker inspired, but the fact of the matter is that's what people were concerned about with Joker. They weren't necessarily concerned about. Whether they would handle
that element is real.
But I think this truly is something that could be handled wrong.
Yeah.
That's why I'm cautiously optimistic. Because there's a lot you can go wrong with this relationship.
Oh yeah, no, you can screw up a lot of relationships just by the depiction of this one.
Exactly. So I'm cautiously optimistic. But yeah. Moving on, I just wanted to talk about the fact that Young Justice Season 4
And briefly, because we have another big segment after this for politics.
So Young Justice Season 4 has ended, and it was really good. It was a really good season. It was the culmination of the massive Superboy arc that had been going on. So I basically just want to run through all the arcs and how it all tied together. So arc 1 of the season was the Mars arc, which was to Superboy and Miss Martian's wedding. So it took place on Mars.
They actually got married. Wow. Good for them.
Well, we're going to get to that.
Oh. Because up to the point where I watched up till, like, season 2, like, because season 2 was to the point where, like, their relationship was very, like, awkward.
Yeah, so it was on Mars. It was to prepare, they were doing the whole Martian ceremony to get ready for the wedding. So on the groom's side was Superboy, Beast Boy, Miss Martian's mom, not Miss Martian's dad, as well as Green Beetle from season 2. So they were on the grim side. Meanwhile, on the bright side, it was McGann, her sister Emery, and her mom, as well as this one priestess lady. The mission also doubled. Oh yeah, Martian Manhunter's there, obviously.
Of course he is, yeah.
But the mission also doubles as a test for a Zeta tube from Earth to Mars as part of the Earth-Mars relations going on. And Superman was supposed to come through the Zeta tube and inevitably also help with the wedding, because obviously he's the best man.
Yeah.
And so, while this is happening, Martian racism. There's a lot of racism between the Ashen, which are the white Martians, the Garuns, which are the green Martians, and the royal family, which are the red Martians. And so how it works is the red Martians are considered, tip top of the cap, like the ultimates, the whatever. Then you have the Garuns, which are the green Martians, which are the dominant species, the dominant race on the planet. And they treat the Ashen, which are the white Martians, the worst. And this is where we enter in our antagonist for the arc, which is going to be Macomb, which is which is Martian Manhunter's nephew and Miss Martian's brother. He and McGann are white Martians so technically they are mixed. All of them are mixed. All of McGann and Macomb and their siblings are mixed because Macomb's dad, their dad is a green Martian. Their mom is a green Martian. Their dad is a white Martian. And so they are all mixed. However, McGann and Macomb came out white while the rest came out green. And so they experienced a lot of racism growing up. And because of that, McGann ran away to Earth with Martian Manhunter. And that's how we see her in season 1. But as a result, Macomb himself, his other siblings abandoned him because they didn't want to deal with the racism of having to defend their white brother. And so he became very hateful and resentful. He became very radicalized to the point where he wanted to free all the white Martians from the oppression of the green Martians and the red Martians, but it took a very genocidal turn. And so we first get a hint of this plot line back in season 3, where we find out that he's stirring up a somewhat of a civil war on New Genesis between the bug colony and the new gods by posing as Orion, and he was using trafficked metateens from Earth to achieve this end. And in the end, we find out he's aligned with Darkseid. So this season, he is going full on genocide. He is creating a gene bomb which will kill every non-white Martian because of their genetics. So we're going full genocide right now. He is like lost. Like he's completely lost it. And so part of the there's also a murder mystery plotline where the king was recently killed, and we have his son, Jem, who is basically the crown prince, and he's going to take over, and he wants to do things differently. We find out he was in love with a green Martian, but because she was green and not red, he couldn't marry her. And it turns out she became part of the priestess class, which is the yellow Martians, to try and hide the fact that she accidentally killed the king in a bout of anger when he denied her the right to marry his son, Jem. And so this is all happening, and it all culminates in the gene bomb about to go off. Desaad, who is one of Darkseid's right-hand men, gave him the gene bomb. He was going to set it off. Superboy figures it out. Also during this time, Garfield is experiencing a lot of PTSD from the end of Season 3, because at the end of Season 3, Brielle Markov, aka Geoforce, brutally executes his uncle by shoving lava down his throat until it burns him inside and kills him. Yes, it was very brutal. He kills his uncle and then deposes his brother and becomes the new king of Markovia. And it was a complete breach of trust of every one of the members of the Outsiders, including Beast Boy. And so Beast Boy is heavily traumatized about the fact that he let Brielle fall so far. So he's going through a lot of trauma right now. He's also traumatized because, as established in the Young Justice comics, in between Season 1 and 2, Queen Bee killed his mother. Because you know how back in Season 1 and Season 2, Queen Bee can control men? Mm-hmm. Well, it turns out she can control anyone who's attracted to her, and Garfield's mom was bisexual, so she basically told her to drive off a cliff, and she did exactly that. Mm. Yes, and also, we also dealt with the fact that, back in Season 3, he's still reeling from the death of Wally, because Wally died at the end of Season 2, but also the death of the Doom Patrol, as the only person that lived was Mento, the rest died on a mission. So he's dealing with a lot of PTSD. And so he's been really on edge this entire trip. And when things start going wrong, he starts to become more on edge. So then the gene bomb is about to happen. Connor goes to stop the gene bomb. But we see briefly someone comes out of a sphere and puts a box on top of the gene bomb and then disappears. We then find out that, one, that box is made out of lead, which is one of the only things Kryptonians can't see through. And two, the box had kryptonite inside. And so when Superboy brings the gene bomb into the lava to destroy it, it explodes and the kryptonite surrounds him, and we think he's dead. There's an ash mark in the form of a humanoid on the wall, and yeah. So, the wedding isn't happening. M'gann is devastated. Like, the post-credit scene for that episode is just M'gann crying. It is literally just a scene of her on their wedding bed crying. It's that bad. She's just crying her eyes out. And then the next time we to murder her brother because she thinks it's his fault. Because she thought he purposely put kryptonite there, but he didn't know there was kryptonite. But anyways, we go on to Arc 2, which is basically focusing on Tigress/Artemis. She is dealing with the fact that she now lives with Red Arrow, who now goes by the name of Will, because, he's a clone. He's not the real Roy Harper. So he now goes by Will Harper, and he is raising his kid with Artemis' sister, Cheshire, remember? Mm-hmm. And so they have a kid, and so the house is her, her mom, Paula, which you remember, woman in wheelchair, married sportsmaster. So those two, Will and Leanne, they're all together living in one household. And Artemis, she's now finally getting over Wally's death and she's moving on. She has a new boyfriend. But things are kind of off, especially when the revelation comes to the rest of the Earth heroes that Superboy has died. It has brought up a lot of past trauma for Artemis because it reminds her of Wally's death. And the fact that she was in a relationship with Wally and then he died, and now Miss Martian was in a relationship with Superboy and he died. And they both died being heroes. So it definitely affects her, like, a lot. She feels a lot of devastation from it. But then she starts to know, and also she's now the leader of the team. She now is the full leader of the team. And so one of the things she notices is that she's being followed at her house, which was established in season 3. The villains know very well not to attack the heroes in their civilian identities, nor their families at any of their houses. It is called the nuclear option. In season 3, Ocean Master tried to murder a playdate filled with a bunch of the superheroes' family members and children, and the Light sent Lady Shiva to kill him because they were like, if you fucking do that, we all die. They will kill us all. So it is a big no-no. No villains are to attack superheroes at their homes or any of their families. It is considered a nuclear option because if they do so, you know damn well Injustice Superman times 11 is coming straight through there. And they know that. So she's being followed, so she leads whoever's following her to a library where she ambushes her alongside Arsenal and Arrowette. They beat her, and it's revealed that her name is Onyx. She is the granddaughter of a former superhero named Amazing Man, and she now works in the League of Shadows. She's defecting from the League of Shadows because she's trying to warn Artemis that Cassandra Savage, daughter of Vandal Savage, is gonna claim that she's defecting from the Light and that she wants to join the heroes. And then Cassandra Savage shows up and is like, no, Onyx is a spy that was meant to make you think that I am trying to be a faker, but I'm not. I'm trying to defect. She's trying to mislead you. And so they take them in, and Miss Martian obviously isn't back on Earth, neither is Martian Manhunter. So they have no way of truly determining if they're telling the truth. They bring in Will and Cheshire to see if they're telling. Neither of them can determine if the truth is being told. Meanwhile, League of Shadows assassins try to kill both of them. Both Onyx and Cassandra. So then they try to attack them at one of their secret bases, and it's revealed that the real plot was for Lady Shiva to get her daughter, Cassandra Cain, aka Orphan. Orphan is one of the many children that Batman takes care of as one of his sidekicks. And so Orphan, as we find out later in the series, was put on a contract to kill the Joker. Because the Joker was holding the UN hostage, which at the time Lex Luthor was the UN Secretary General, and the Joker had him hostage, and the Light was like, fuck this guy, he is too chaotic, we cannot deal with it. And in fact, remember in season 1 as how he was part of that Injustice League? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he didn't know that that was fake, and he thought it was real, and so he got really pissed that everyone in the superhero community didn't tell him. Everyone in the supervillain community didn't tell him that it was fake. And the fact that Riddler knew and he didn't really pissed him off. So that's why he's holding the UN hostage. And so the Light puts out a contract on Joker to kill him. And so Cassandra Cain is the one to do it. She is going to kill him, but at the time, the Bat family is foiling the Joker's plot. And Batgirl notices that Cassandra is going to kill Joker, but she can tell, 1, she's never killed someone before, and 2, that Cassandra's a fucking child. So, when Cassandra goes in to stab Joker with her sword, Barbara jumps in the way, and it severs her spinal column, thus doing a better version of killing Joke. Barbara becomes paralyzed and becomes Oracle, and it is technically because of the plot involving Joker, but it's not the Joker crippling her, it's Barbara getting in the way of stopping a child from becoming a murderer. And because of that, Cassandra defects. And ever since Cassandra defects, Lady Shiva has wanted her daughter back. And now that she's the chief enforcer for the Light, now that Deathstroke has been elevated to member of the Light and leader of the League of Assassins, Shiva is now chief enforcer. She's using the vast amount of resources that she has to get her daughter back. The also second plot was that Cassandra was the mole. Cassandra Savage was the mole, and she actually has a bunch of like nanobots on her that was supposed to steal a bunch of Justice League secrets off their hard drives. It all fails. They are able to stop the League from fully kidnapping Cassandra, and that's the end of that arc. Artemis basically Artemis basically becomes on better relationship with her sister, who goes to have therapy with Ra's al Ghul, and there's a scene where it's someone who we presume is Jason Todd, alongside Cheshire and Onyx, going under therapy with Ra's al Ghul, as he's now left the Light. He's no longer with the Light, and he's now doing his own thing. He's no longer in the assassin game either. So, she's getting therapy, Artemis has moved on, and she's going to keep taking care of Leanne. So that's Arc 2. Arc 3 is with Zatanna. Zatanna is now training 3 students. One is Elid Nasur, who is the great nephew of Kent Nelson, the original Dr. Fate, back in Season 1 and 2. Or mainly just Season 1. So he is the great nephew of Dr. Fate, and he's Muslim. That's an important thing. Then we have Tracy 13. She was introduced as Blue Beetle's girlfriend back in Season 3, and she is someone that has bad luck magic. Like, if there's a bad luck that can happen, she can induce it. And her third apprentice is Mary Bromfield. Mary Marvel, Billy Batson's sister. And so she's training them to be good at magic, because they're not good. Like, they're good, but they're not good. Mary is trying to use magic independent of her Shazam form because she became addicted to being Mary Marvel. She would refuse to get out of the form, and it took like a whole coaxing from Billy to finally get her to give up. Billy and Freddy convinced her to stop being it. So her whole thing is she's addicted to power. It's like, for her, it's a stand-in for drug addiction. Mm-hmm. She's addicted to magical power. And so Khalid and Tracy and Mary, they're all training under her, when all of a sudden the Lords of Chaos decide that Clarion is not doing a good enough job at creating chaos in the universe, in the mortal realm. So they send in another one. Her name is Child, and she is far more dangerous. First thing that she does is she completely brutalizes a security guard at a museum, and she turns a statue into a living being that she calls Flaw, and that becomes her anchor. Kind of how Tikal is Clarion's anchor, you know, the cat. So she faces off against Clarion, and she soundly beats him. So Clarion is like gone. Like he lost. She kills Tikal, so Clarion no longer has an anchor. And so then Child fucks shit up. Like, she completely devastates the planet. Like, every hero and villain possible is trying to stop the devastation that's going on the planet. Vandal Savage is like, we're getting off this fucking planet. He is like telling the Light to start like packing all their shit onto the war world. He even like extend the invitation to Ra's al Ghul and his family if they want to join the war world. Because like Vandal Savage is like, oh fuck this. This planet is gone. Clarion is gone. This bitch is too powerful. We can't stop her. We're out. Meanwhile, Zatanna, she goes to Dr. Fate, who, if you remember, is currently her father.
Zatara, right?
Yeah, Giovanni Zatara. And so, yeah. So she goes to Dr. Fate, and she's like, we need your help. And he's like, I will take you, but I will not take your students. And she's like, no. My students are just as capable. So we push them through some tests, and they pass the tests. And thus, he allows them to join them. They also meet the Phantom Stranger, who is very big deal in the DC universe. And he basically tells them about what's happening, that the balance between the Lords of Order and Chaos is out of whack, and that's why Child is here and Clarion is gone. Then we meet Jason Blood and Etrigan the Demon, and he tries facing off against Child. He fails. So then they're like, fuck, we need a plan. And that's when Clarion comes through, and Clarion's like, listen, I want to win. I want to be the dominant one here. And so we find out that Clarion took over a school bus full of children, and he's been traveling through time and dimensions in the school bus looking for superheroes to help him. And now this ties into a long-running gag in the series, which is, do you remember how whenever there's something happening in public, there's usually a school bus full of screaming children?
Yeah.
That school bus full of screaming children is actually Clarion controlling the school bus and moving it throughout time looking for the right superheroes. So when you saw Superboy and Superman save him, that was Clarion. When you saw Guy Gardner save them, Clarion. Green Arrow, Black Canary, Clarion. When it suddenly appeared in space all of a sudden in season 3, Clarion. It also goes into the Phantom Zone, where we see Superboy, and we find out Superboy is alive. He's just in the Phantom Zone. But now we have no way of knowing how he got there. But now we know Superboy is alive. It also goes to Apocalypse 1 year into the future of the current storyline, meaning that a hero is now in Apocalypse 1 year from now, and we will get to that at the end. And so Clarion finally makes it to present day. He finds Zatanna and her group, and at first Dr. Fate wants nothing to do with Clarion because, Lord of Order, Lord of Chaos, diametrically opposed. But they end up finding a new Tikal for him to use as an anchor, and so then they all come together and they fight Child. Mary gives into her lust for power and starts absorbing all of the power so her thing is using the ley lines within the land to fuel her magic power, but she can also absorb magic. And so she starts absorbing magic from Tracy, Dr. Fate, Khalid, and Zatanna while fighting Child to try and hold her back as much as she can. And eventually, Tracy is able to gain enough power to defeat Flaw, which causes Child to disappear. And we also see that the Phantom Stranger got Vandal Savage to talk to the Lords of Order and Chaos. And he basically negotiated for them to stop sending Lords of Chaos down there, and that Clarion is fine, and that if they leave him there, he will continue to do his job, and such. And so they were like, okay, we won't send more Lords of Chaos, but we will not call Child back. She'll need to be defeated. And so she ends up getting defeated, and the world is saved. And then Zatanna comes up with the idea that Dr. Fate should not have one host, but should have multiple hosts. And it should be a rotation every fourth week. So how it would work is week 1, Zatanna would be Dr. Fate. Week 2, Tracy will be Dr. Fate. Week 3, Khalid will be Dr. Fate. Week 4, Zatara will be Dr. Fate. Week 5, Zatanna. Notice I haven't mentioned Mary. Because of Mary absorbing all their power, Zatanna doesn't view Mary as responsible enough to undertake being Dr. Fate. And Mary gets very pissed. Very upset that she not only played a significant part in saving the world from Child, but the fact that she doesn't get to be a part of this group really pisses her off, and she runs away. And so then the question becomes, was this Zatanna's plan all along? Was she actually grooming 3 teenagers to inevitably take over the position of Dr. Fate to free her father? And the answer is yes and no. In the sense that when she initially recruited them to train them, that was not her intentions whatsoever. In fact, the only reason Child even appears is because Zatanna gets the idea to do so, and the sheer thought of rotating hosts on Dr. Fate, who is a Lord of Order, is what prompted the Lords of Chaos to send Child down there, as they felt the balances were out of whack with such a prospect. So, she wasn't initially, but by the time the arc begins, she has decided that she will do that. So it's kind of an interesting thing. But Mary is left out. And it ends, this is the end of the first half of season 1. It ends with Mary, with Zatanna, when she goes to touch the school bus to see what all the kids have gone through while Clarion was taking over the school bus, she sees Connor. And at first she thinks he's dead, but his spirit's not at rest. So he's like, oh fuck, this isn't good. So then we flash to the post-credit scene, which is Mary, Fawcett City, very depressed, and then a voice starts speaking out to her, telling her to say the word, to embrace her power. And she says, Shazam! And it's revealed that the woman talking to her is Granny Goodness, one of the many new gods working under Darkseid. So it's looking like Granny Goodness has just recruited Mary. Arc 4. Arc 4 is Kaldur's arc. It focuses on the politics of Atlantis. You don't know this, but in between seasons 2 and 3, Aquaman has retired, and he has decided to just become King of Atlantis full-time, and in his stead, Kaldur, Aqualad, gets promoted to Aquaman. So, Kaldur has been Aquaman. He actually, during season 3. So, this is about how, recently, what's been going on in Atlantis is they're having a summit of the 7 kingdoms of Atlantis. And so there are several people there. There's Mira, there's Orin, there's King Shark. And no, he's not like how he is in the Suicide Squad. He's actually a competent person.
Is he like a tech bro like he is in Harley Quinn?
No, he's more like a Saiyan.
Oh, that's a shame. I liked Tech Bro King Shark.
No, he's more like a Saiyan. He's more like where he respects people with lots of power. So like when him and Cal, when he's like trying to start a fight in a bar and Kaldur just punches him in the face, he's like, fine.
No, in the Harley Quinn animated series, he is like the goofy tech bro.
Oh my god.
It's better than you think it is, trust me.
I could is a and here he's a he's basically a Saiyan. And so we get to see what's been going on with Atlantis in the years past. Lagoon Boy he's moved on. He is now married in a polycule. So he is actually in a polycule with 2 other Atlanteans. So he has a wife and he has a husband, and his wife is pregnant with one of... They don't exactly say whose child it is between him and the husband, but it's equal. They're in a polycule, and it's nice, and it's based. So, yeah. Meanwhile, Kaldur is in a relationship, which was shown last season, but is expanded upon in this season. He's in a relationship with a guy named Wind. So Kaldur is now in a gay relationship with a man named Wind, who in the comics used to be in the Young Justice comics, used to be a follower of Ocean Master before realizing that, being racist was wrong. And yeah. Anyways, so what's been going on is that the kingdoms can't decide on anything. They are all things have been pretty fucked. Poseidonus, which is the capital where Orin and Mira live, has been very prosperous. Meanwhile, everywhere else has not been. We actually find out that Kaldur's adoptive dad, Caleb Durham, which is where you get Calderon as his name, Caleb Durham, who used to work under Black Manta, who then fell in love with Black Manta's baby mama, and thus raised Kaldur as his own son, and he artificially became an Atlantean. So he is actually leading one of these prefectures. And they're all talking about how everything is just not equal. Mira's father, Miras, he does not want to do anything. He hates Arthur. He hates Arthur Curry a lot. He despises him, and he also hates all the other kingdoms. So he doesn't want anything to do with him. But there is a massive prophecy. There's a prophecy that the hero King Arian will return to that the hero of Atlantis will return, and when he returns, he will unite all of Atlantis under his banner. And we find out the history of Atlantis, which is that Vandal Savage is the first metahuman. He got his powers from a meteor that landed. And so he started having a fuck ton of children, which all came out to have metagenes, which he realized came under severe stress. Well, Clarion appeared and murdered everyone. And so, after killing Vandal Savage for 300 years, but realizing he can't actually kill him because he's immortal, Vandal Savage decides to continue populating the world and becoming basically Genghis Khan and a whole bunch of other people. But he specifically targets the continent of Atlantis. At this point, Atlantis is just a land continent. And so he populates it with a bunch of metahumans. And eventually, his plan was to have Atlantis be populated with metahumans, and then have Clarion sink Atlantis into the ocean to create a new breed of metahumans, the Homo Magi, which would be magic humans, because you had metahumans, and then you had the magic humans, and so he wanted to create another species. And then, so his plan works, but it works too well. Clarion goes overboard, and instead of sinking Atlantis, the capital, he sinks the entire fucking continent into the ocean. And that's where Homo Mermanus comes. That is why technically every person that lives in Atlantis and is from the undersea is a metahuman themselves. And also, not just a metahuman, they're also all Homo Magi. Homo Mermanus is basically the combination of the Homo Metas and the Homo Magis. So every Atlantean is magical and has metahuman powers. And so we find out, so then the child thing happens. And so first Ocean Master returns, which was very suspect because the last time we saw Ocean Master, he was nothing but a head on the floor after Lady Shiva decapitated him for, once again, trying to murder everyone in the Justice League's family. So he's back, and no one knows why. And so he starts attacking, but he's thwarted by a hooded figure. Then the child shenanigans happen, which of course affected Atlantis. And so Mira, Aqualad, Aquaman, Ocean Master, and this hooded figure all stop Child's assault on Atlantis. And it is revealed that it's Arion, who was the grandson of Vandal Savage, who was the leader of Atlantis when it was sunk by Clarion. He is somehow returned. And because of that, people are thinking that the prophecy is coming true and that the first king of Atlantis, Arion, has come back to rule Atlantis in its time of strife. Meanwhile, Aquaman, he's not buying it. He thinks something fishy is up. No pun intended. And so he thinks something's fishy up. So he sends Calder, Lagoon Boy, Wind on a mission, and they're joined by Delphis, who is a girl who was trafficked back in season 3, and her metagene turned her into a Homo Mermanus, meaning she could no longer live on land, down to Atlantis. She lives with Calder and Wind. And so the four of them all come together, and they go to look at the ruins of the first Atlantis city to find Arion's crown, to determine if this is real. So while that's happening, Ocean Master has been put in prison, and Miss Martian, who's finally returned to Earth, shows up, and she determines that the Ocean Master that we're seeing now is a clone of the Ocean Master that we originally saw. This Ocean Master, however, firmly believes that he is the original Ocean Master. And so we come to find out, well, so Ocean Master did die, but as you remember back in season 1, the Light are very good at cloning. Like, very good at cloning. That's why we have 3 people. That's why we have 3 clones of Roy Harper running around. And that's why Superboy exists. They're really good at cloning. And so what's actually happened was that they took the DNA of Arion and they cloned his body, and then they took the mind of Ocean Master and put it in the body of Arion, and then cloned Ocean Master, and then had the clone set up with fake memories to think he's the real Ocean Master. And so then the fake Ocean Master would engineer strife within the Atlantean kingdoms, so then Arion, who is actually the real Ocean Master, would swoop in, would become king of all kingdoms, and thus put Atlantis all under the control of Vandal Savage and the Light. This was all culminated in something known as Project Threnos. And it worked. It actually worked. the kingdoms decide to come together, and they decided to vote Arian to become king. Meanwhile, Calder and the rest return with Arian's crown from the ruins of Atlantis, and Arian, becoming cocky, wants to put on the crown. Aquaman says, don't do this. Please don't do this. This is a big mistake. And so he puts on the crown. Unbeknownst to Ocean Master, the crown was a gift given to Arian by the Lords of Order. So when he put on the crown, they smited him from space, disintegrating his body in front of the entire Atlantean kingdom. It was a fake, thus fully killing off Ocean Master once and for all. And everyone's like, oh, fuck. So they elect Mira instead. Because Mira actually did meet all the parameters for the prophecy, and everyone likes Mira. And so she becomes the new king of Atlantis. Orin returns to the Justice League, and he joins as Aquaman. He also lets Calder stay as Aquaman, and he promotes Lagoon Boy to Aquaman. So Lagoon Boy now is Aquaman the Third, and he's now a member of the Justice League. Also in this time, his child has now been born, so he's now a happy father. Arthur, he is Aquaman once again. He is now a member of the Justice League, and he's going to focus on raising their kid, Arthur Jr., while Mira is king. Calder, who has been thoroughly overworked for the past several years, is finally going to take a break, and he spends that time, one, with Wind and Delphus, but two, in therapy with Black Canary, mourning the fact that under his leadership of the team, he let Tula die, he let Jason Todd die, he let Wally die, and even though it was not his fault, he still feels responsible for Superboy dying. But as we know, Superboy isn't dead. So that was Calder's arc. Now we get to Rocket's arc, so interspliced with Superboy. So we find out that Superboy has actually lived, and he is inside the Phantom Zone, and it's him and this unconscious alien girl. We come to find out that that girl is named Phantom Girl. She is a member of the Legion of Superheroes, and they are from the 30th century. They are from the 30th century. They came back in time because they wanted to save Superboy from dying, because in the 30th century, Superboy is the inspiration for the League of Superheroes. And they're coming back in time to stop Superboy from dying. They think they failed, and they think Phantom... So 3 of them came back. It's Saturn Girl, Chameleon Boy, and Phantom Girl. Phantom Girl gets lost in the Mars explosion, and so they think that she died alongside Superboy. Reality is that she transported him to the Phantom Zone, but she's still unconscious. And in the Phantom Zone, you don't age, and your status rarely changes. Meaning that if you're injured in the Phantom Zone, if you were injured before the Phantom Zone, your injuries are still fucking there. You don't age or anything. And if you're pregnant inside the Phantom Zone, even if you were close to term, you cannot give birth in the Phantom Zone. That comes in for later. So, anyways, Superboy has been traversing the Phantom Zone, and he's been going through zone sickness, because the whole thing about the Phantom Zone is initially thought it was just a space to hold people prisoner. What they didn't realize is that it makes you fucking insane, because it's so fucking fucked up in there. And so Superboy slowly becomes insane. He thinks that he is dead. He thinks that he's not dead. He is reverted to his Cadmus. He's reverted to his initial Cadmus programming all the way back from season 1. He thinks that he has already killed Superman. He thinks that Lex Luthor is truly his father. All kinds of fucked up shit. But he is inevitably saved by a man named Drew Zod. General Drew Zod, who was in the Phantom Zone. So you can see what... Mm-hmm. And so, meanwhile, in the Rocket side of things, Rocket is... she is currently on a delegation to New Genesis, where she's going to be meeting with the New Gods and the Green Lantern Corps to discuss a treaty. The team that is going to New Genesis is her, Jay Garrick the Flash, who turns 101 while on the trip, making him one of the oldest members of the Justice League, and Forager, who is a character that we were introduced to back in Season 3, who is a native of New Genesis. So they go to New Genesis, and the meeting is going to be between Rocket and Jay, where they will be meeting with Orion, son of Darkseid and New God, Bear, not Bear. Remember the black guy, new god from the Forever People that showed up back in season 1?
No.
Yes, I forgot his name, but he's there. He's friends with Superboy. And then from the Green Lantern Corps, we have Kilowog and Tomare. So the 3 of them are together. So the 6 of them are together, and they're having negotiations, and they're not going anywhere. Things are not going well. Rocket is having trouble because her son Amistad is autistic, and she doesn't know how to handle dealing with him being autistic. She thinks he's perfectly fine the way that he is, and she's kind of very stubborn and not agreeing with her baby daddy about the fact that maybe he should be given special care to help him deal with his autism. Because, it's a very complicated thing. It kind of deals with, autism and how autistic people are treated differently, but also there's a slight racial part of it, how, black people are kind of always seen as lesser. So him admitting that he needs help for his autism may be used against him because he's black. They don't say it, but as a black person, I can tell that's exactly how she was feeling. And so there's that. But the parallel to that is she is dealing with Orion. Now, Orion is a new god and the son of Darkseid. And while he is not autistic, he is neuroatypical. He has immense claustrophobia, and because he's the son of Darkseid, he is prone to intense blood rages that are completely out of his control. And it makes him go off, and he hates it. It's very painful for him, and it does not calm him in any way. So that is supposed to be the foil going on here. Meanwhile, the villains of this arc is Macam, back from the Mars arc, Mantis, who is a bug who, back in Season 3, when Macam was posing as Orion, basically told him that he should fuck off and go join Darkseid, which was entirely part of Macam's plan. And so now Mantis works for Darkseid. And then we are revealed who the person in the sphere was that put the kryptonite box on the gene bomb. It is a teenage boy named Lor-Zod, the son of General Zod. And what we learn is that in the future, back during the in the future with the Legion of Superheroes, the Phantom Zone is finally opened up. And when that happens, General Zod and all of his men are freed because instead of having a 10-year sentence, they had a 30,000-year sentence. Or however long it is to reach the 30th century. A long fucking time. They spent a long time in the Phantom Zone. And so they're freed because, that's the humane thing to do. And General Zod did General Zod things, and he decides he's going to take over the entire fucking universe. And so they all get thrown back into the Phantom Zone, except for his son, Lor-Zod. Lor-Zod then fights the Legion of Superheroes and steals their time sphere so he can go back in time, so he can free his father earlier in the timeline, as well as killing Superboy, thus meaning his father can now be free to take over the universe at an earlier time period, and with Superboy dead, the Legions of Superheroes will never come to form. During this time, Lor-Zod also creates a deal with Darkseid, the same deal Vandal Savage has with Darkseid, which is basically, we will leave each other alone until we are the 2 galactic powers left, and then we will have a winner-takes-all fight at the end. That is the current deal that Vandal Savage and Darkseid have. Lor-Zod makes the same deal with Darkseid. So Darkseid is technically double-dipping right now. So anyways, the team of Lor-Zod, Macam, and Mantis, they are going to New Genesis to stir up trouble so they can get into Metron's vault so they can find a Phantom Zone projector. During this time, we have a brief pit stop, and it turns out that the Green Lantern, the animated series, remember that CGI show? Mm-hmm. Well, that show is actually canon adjacent to Young Justice, because we are introduced to original character from the series, Razor, who during the time was a Red Lantern. Now he's a Blue Lantern, but he seems to have lost all hope, because at the end of Green Lantern, the animated series, he was looking for his love, the AI Ava, but he cannot find her, and now he's lost hope. And so he returns to New Genesis to meet with Metron. And so he wanted to use the Red Lantern link because maybe he believes tapping into his rage will allow him to, find Ava. So he goes there. Metron is Metron, i.e. a massive fucking dick. And so he turns out he's been tricking Razor the entire time. Razor and him get into a fight. Razor ends up using both the Red Lantern and Blue Lantern Blue Lantern rings together. They have combined. He is now the Red Blue Lantern. And now he's realized that he can control both his rage and have hope, and he's going to use that revitalized status to try and search for Ava once again. But what that episode does serve to do is it serves to be the opening that Macomb, Lord-Zod, and Mantis need to do to get into Metron's vault, where they three-piece combo him by beating the fuck out of him in his vault to steal the Phantom Zone projector. And even though Metron thinks he's outsmarted them, time spare to one day earlier while they're still in the vault, so then they can go in and get the Phantom Zone projector. So then they need to power up the Phantom Zone projector. During that time, they accidentally set off a Promethean, which is basically one of the many giants that are attached to the source wall. And they activate a Promethean who threatens to destroy all of New Genesis. So during this time, all of the heroes try and stop this from happening. Tomar Ray, who feels guilt over the fact that he let Krypton get destroyed because Green Lantern that was responsible for patrolling Krypton. He takes over, and, well, he dies. Lord-Zod kills him. But he was able to stop the Promethean giant from destroying New Genesis, but he does die. And his Green Lantern ring goes on to a female bug who is also named Forager. Yes, there are now 2 Foragers. In fact, pretty much every bug is named Forager except for Mantis, who is named Mantis. And they all speak in the third person. It is very difficult. And so she becomes the new Green Lantern, and what happens is that they were able to arrest Mantis, and they were able to capture a device that they were all using called the Kaiser Thrall. Meanwhile, in the Phantom Zone, Superboy, he gets completely he basically joins General Zod's cult. They do all the stereotypical cult shit by love bombing him and, basically just making him feel like he's one of them, and he pledges his loyalty to General Zod. And so then, during this time, we see that the Legion of Superhero recruited Bart Allen, because he knows how to deal with time travel, to see if he can help them. But through shenanigans, they end up destroying the Phantom Zone projector, but Macomb and Lord-Zod notice that, so they fly up to their bioship and infiltrate it and take Saturn Girl, Chameleon Boy, and Bart Allen hostage, and they disappear into time. The Kaiser Thrall is then taken to Oa alongside Mantis. The New Gods, the Justice League, and the Green Lantern Corps have decided that they do need to work together because of shit like this. And during this time, Rock starts to understand that maybe Superboy could be alive, potentially. So then this all culminates into the final arc, the Nightwing/Superboy arc, which in this arc begins with all of the magic users coming together in the Tower of Fate to find Superboy's presence. And they find that Superboy is not amongst the afterlife, meaning that he is most definitely alive. They don't want to tell Miss Martian this because the last thing they would want is to be wrong and to have gotten her hopes up. So Zatanna recruits Dick Grayson, who basically starts to piece together that Superboy most definitely was transported to another dimension, given the fact that certain things have been happening, such as the mysterious disappearance of Bart Allen, the fact that the Legion of Superheroes have been noticed around Bart and Superman, but no one knows who they are, except for Bart and Superman. So he recruits Artemis and Rocket, who all come together with the information that they've gleaned from their arcs to piece together that, yes, Connor is alive. They also recruit Calder. And so they go to Superman. Superman has his lips sealed because Superman is afraid that if he tells them the truth, it will disrupt the time stream and thus disrupt the flow of time, and thus causing, a collapse of the space-time continuum. So he's not going to tell them shit. Anyways, so they find a way to get into the Phantom Zone, which is to find the school bus that was used by Clarion to enter the Phantom Zone and rebuild it. And then from using the rebuilt Phantom Zone, use Zatanna's connection to magic to transport the bus into the Phantom Zone to let them find Superboy. So they do that, and they get in there, and they try to save Superboy. But Superboy is so mentally fucked, he doesn't believe they're real, first of all. Second of all, even if they are real, he doesn't think he should go back because he thinks that he's a murderer, that he murdered Superman, and that all he would do is murder more people, including McGann. And so he doesn't go. Kryptonians beat the shit out of them, but they don't have full Kryptonian powers because Kryptonian powers only unlock under a yellow sun, and there is no sun in the Phantom Zone. During this time, Phantom Girl finally wakes up. She tries to get Superboy to go with her. He doesn't, so she leaves and goes to Mars, because that was the last place she was before she fell into the Phantom Zone. So she goes to Mars. She tells Prince Jem, who then contacts the Justice League and is like, yo, you may not believe me, but I believe her because I have mind reading power, and I can tell she's telling me the truth, that I believe Superboy is alive, and since he's tried to save all of our species, I'm indebted to him. So the League comes together, and Superman's like, oh shit, my brother may be alive, holy fuck. And so it all starts to come together. They tell Miss Martian, and Miss Martian is obviously cautious about the whole thing. And so it starts the final showdown, which is Lord-Zod finally gets his hands on a Phantom Zone projector. And he is able to then use that projector. No. He doesn't get his hands on a Phantom Zone projector. What he does is he breaks out the Kaiser Thrall from the prison on Oa, which we then find out the Kaiser Thrall is not just a machine. It is a machine with the mind of an 11-year-old boy. And it turns out this was a boy that was trafficked by the light and sold into slavery to Darkseid, who then destroyed his body and only kept his brain and put it into a weapon. So, yes, the child trafficking that's been going on since season 3, still very much alive and well, and still horrifyingly fucked up. And it turns out, every time the Kaiser Thrall uses his powers, it's killing him. Very fucked up shit. Anyways, so they call in Orion, who wanted to use a boom tube to get into the Phantom Zone. So they call Orion. Orion brings the boom tube. They decide that instead of doing this on Earth, they should go to a planet with a red sun. So in case any Kryptonian prisoners break out, they would be able to, handle them. So they go to a red sun, and everything goes to shit. Macomb does Macomb things. He fucks them all up. He takes over the Kaiser Thrall. He attaches a mother box to the Kaiser Thrall, turning it to a mother Thrall, opens a boom tube that allows Lord-Zod to get his father, his mother, one other Kryptonian named Feora, and Superboy out. Lord-Zod wants to kill Superboy, but General Zod thinks Superboy is, useful because he thinks Superboy is useful, but also he kind of sees Superboy as a bit of a surrogate son. And so they decide that they're going to boom tube to Earth, and what they're going to do is they're going to go to Earth and they're going to absorb the red sun, the yellow sun there, to get full powers to start their conquest. And so the heroes all start to converge together. The boom tube opens once again, but the heroes inside the Phantom Zone try to stop the Kryptonians from getting through. Nightwing runs into the boom tube. He finds the Zods in the Fortress of Solitude, and he tries to stop them, but they're Kryptonians, he's human, they beat the fuck out of him and nearly kill him. The boom tube collapses, and Rocket's the only one that doesn't make it out. So everything is kind of fucked. Meanwhile, Lord-Zod's mom, Ursa, gains the power of the Emerald Empress because she has the Emerald Eye of Ekron, which is an artifact that Lord-Zod stole from Metron's vault because he found it to be useful, because that is something that is because the Eye of Ekron usually is used by a woman called the Emerald Empress in the future, but since this is the past, that means the Eye is no longer being used by the Empress because she doesn't exist yet, so his mom is now the Empress. And so they are super amped up, and the heroes try to try and stop the Zods. They get effortlessly destroyed. Nightwing tries to use kryptonite on the Zods. It didn't work. They steal the kryptonite. They use it on Superman and poison the fuck out of him with kryptonite. Then they boom tube to Metropolis, where Superboy is revealed to alive, and in front of a live audience, he is going to snap Superman's neck. Enter the season finale. Turns out, everyone's faking their fucking deaths. Nightwing faked his death. Miss Martian faked the entire group dying when the Emerald Empress attacked them. And so they come up with a plan, which is basically they're all going to just attack at Metropolis, and they're going to stop the Kaiser Thrall from being used so they can rescue the kid inside and stop the boom tube. And it all works. Somehow. And the big twist of it all is that Rocket survived the boom tube collapsing on her. It turns out it transported her to Metron's vault. Metron actually has Lorzod's time sphere. So he has Rocket time travel to where the fight is happening. Time travels to the fight is happening. So all the Kryptonians get knocked into the Phantom Zone, including Macomb, where McGann confronts Macomb one last time and says, I know you were happy that Connor died, and I disown you. You are no longer my brother. So he's been disowned. He gets dropped into the fucking Phantom Zone. And so now it's just Lorzod. Lorzod then takes the time sphere, but is pre-programmed to go somewhere. It takes him back to Mars at the exact moment when the bomb was supposed to go off. He thinks this is an opportunity to finally kill Superboy once and for all. So he steps out of the time sphere, but the time sphere disappears. He then turns and realizes that the bomb is going off and the bomb had kryptonite. It blows up and kills him and reveals that the ash mark at the beginning of the season was Lorzod the entire time. Because this has all been a 5D chess maneuver by Metron to kill Lorzod because he embarrassed him in the vault. Moral of the story, do not fuck with Metron. So anyways, the day is saved. Superboy and Miss Martian finally do get married. And it's all happy ending. Except nope. Because guess what happens? The Light enter the Phantom Zone with Clarion and kidnap every single Kryptonian in the Phantom Zone, including Zod. And so now the Light has an army of Kryptonians at their disposal. Yeah. Ursa somehow survived. Ursa was able to escape with the Eye of Ekron, and she's pregnant with now present-day Lorzod. And so she goes to a planet called Daxam, which is basically a planet full of Kryptonian offshoots, and it looks like she's going to conquer that planet. Macomb is finally able to get the planet that, since he did a good job working under Darkseid, he's rewarded with a planet for all of the White Martians to live together, and that planet is revealed to be called Durla, the home of Chameleon Boy, thus revealing that Chameleon Boy is a descendant of Macomb all along. And so then, the end credits scene basically reveals that Darkseid now has two new Furies added to him. One is Mary Marvel, who was seen being corrupted by Granny Goodness, and that is the superhero that Clarion transported to 1 year in the future, Mary on Apocalypse. And lastly, the newest Fury added to the Force of Apocalypse is Kara Zor-El, aka Supergirl. She was in the Phantom Zone the other time, and when the Light went in and cleared house on all the Kryptonians, they gave her over to Darkseid. So now the Light and the Force of Apocalypse are jacked up to shit, and the heroes are rightly fucked. And then, of course, the comic that is supposed to take place in between Season 4 and whenever Season 5 happens, if it gets greenlit, came out as first issue, which is basically Queen Perdita, remember Garfield's girlfriend, is once again trying to be killed by Count Vertigo, like in Season 1, and they kidnapped her. And so it's up to Red Arrow to try and save her, because it's revealed in a flashback that her father was killed by Sportsmaster remember when Sportsmaster worked for the Light, and Roy tried, and Will, at the time going by Roy, tried to stop him, but if you remember back in Season 1, he was under the Light's mind control, and so Sportsmaster used that against him to basically put him in a trance that allowed him to go kill Perdita's dad, and yeah. So that is basically everything Young Justice that has happened. And I have to say, it was a complete wild ride. It was filled to the brim with twists and turns, plot twists out the ass, fake deaths, everything that you like about a superhero story there. It was amazing, had a good deal of representation, and overall, I would rate the season an 8 out of 10, not counting the comic.
Well, that was a very not brief description, and unfortunately, we're going to run this podcast almost to 3 goddamn hours.
Unfortunately, that was the most condensed version I can get for you, because if I went into more detail, we would be here forever. But I really wanted to talk about it because I really loved Young Justice. Young Justice has been my all-time favorite DC animated property. In fact, it is my favorite superhero animated property of all time. In fact, Season 4 of Young Justice has done the best out of any animated superhero property on streaming, meaning it has surpassed the numbers Invincible made back when it debuted on Amazon.
Right.
So
well, with that being said, we definitely got to jump into our politics segment. Make that the last thing of the night because we got to wrap up things soon.
Yes, but I really want to talk about it. 8 out of 10. Really good. I would recommend watching it. You can find it on HBO Max. You should watch every season, seasons 1 all the way to season 4. And if you can, read the comic books. There is a prequel. There are interlude comics in between season 1 and 2 that came out that you should definitely read. And there's now an interlude comic which is supposed to happen between season 4 and whenever season 5 gets greenlit. This is the comics called Young Justice Targets. You can find it. Issue 1 is out now. I believe it's a 6-issue series, so it should come out every month. So in 6 months from now, the entire series should be done. Please watch it. Please read it all. Please support Young Justice. It's amazing.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump right in with our last segment here to wrap up the night. So at this point, the January 6th committee has up to 2 hearings at this point. We will not be covering the first one, but we will be covering the second one in depth. The first one was pretty much just to prove how the investigation has gone, what direction they will be taking with the hearings, and also what leaders have requested pardons from President Trump at the time.
Yeah.
The second committee, which we will be going more in depth in, will be proving that Trump knew that he was spreading lies about the election.
Yeah. So before we start that, I do want to explain why they're doing this. So when the first committee hearing happened, it was to establish what the crime was. The crime was the invasion of the Capitol by the January 6th insurrectionists on the basis that they were lied to by the president, who was trying to use this as a coup attempt. To establish that premise that they're basing their... To establish that premise is true, they need to go back in time to address when Donald Trump said the election was a fraud. And they needed to prove that, 1, he was knowingly lying about the fact that the election was a fraud, and 2, that he was going to then actively try and circumvent the results of the election to lead into January 6th. So the first 2 hearings right now is a bunch of basically glorified backstory. It is basically all trying to set the premise that Trump knew what he was doing the entire time. He was 6th, a coup attempt. It was very much an attempt by Trump and his allies to do so. And there are a lot of people that have come forward to say this, from minor staffers all the way up to former Attorney General William Barr himself.
Yes, and his testimony was the most striking because it was up to the point where, like, he legitimately quit because of all the, in his words, bullshit that was going on and being spewed in there.
He didn't quit. He was fired.
Oh, he was fired.
He was fired, but he was going to quit. It's kind of
his intention was to quit.
Yes.
Because that was what I got from his testimony at the...
However, don't think Bill Barr is a good person. He is not a good person, and his father allowed Jeffrey Epstein to be a teacher that gave... Fuck the Barr family!
Yeah. So anyway, pretty much everyone from Bill Barr up until Ivanka actually testified for them. So they went all out as far as getting people in and getting them to testify in front of the January 6th committee.
Yeah, Ivanka and Jared Kushner.
Yeah.
The only one that's left is Trump Jr. to testify.
Yeah.
And so one of the biggest takeaways from all of this is that the Republican Party as a whole has completely done away with the idea that they care about democracy in this country.
Yeah.
This has firmly shown that Trump and his sycophants knew full well what they were doing was A, illegal, 2, immoral, and 3, undemocratic, and they gave 2 shits about it. We actually learned that Rudy Giuliani, who was Trump's attorney during all of this, was drunk on election night.
We actually didn't learn this today. This has been public knowledge for the longest time, actually.
No, but we learned how drunk he was. He was absolutely shit-faced and was like,
because
we can lie about this.
Because ultimately his goal was like, announce it tonight. Announce your win tonight. Do it now. And he kept getting redirected just so that way that didn't happen.
Yeah, he was very much trying to get Trump to just say, you win, we'll sort out all the details afterwards, which...
I mean, it did happen.
It did happen, but it firmly cements the idea that Trump was going to lie about the election was something that wasn't just him, but was a conspiracy done by him and other people, as Trump did it after expressly running it by other people who either disagreed and he ignored and agreed and went through it with.
Yeah.
We also had people like Sidney Powell come forward, basically admitting that everything that she said was complete and utter bullshit.
Yeah, and, her legally getting away.
Yes, because it is a legal defense where if you lie to the public knowingly, you can just tell them, well, of course I was lying. Why would anyone believe a word that I said? Of course it all sounded like a lie. Which I hate the fact that that's actually a real defense that you can make. Oh, I lied? Well, you should have known I was lying. Everything I said was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I hate that fact that that is a legal defense that is, one, very viable, and two, has succeeded at least 2 occasions. Tucker Carlson also used this excuse when talking about the news that he presents on Fox News. He said, my viewers should never believe a word that comes out of my mouth because I'm embellishing and lying the entire time. Yeah. Another reason why Tucker Carlson fucking sucks and why you should never believe a word that comes out of his mouth.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Ultimately, the one good thing to come out of this was the fact that I got to hear Trump say the magical words again. Big, massive dumps.
I hate it. While this definitely gave me a trip down memory road to remind myself how subhumanly retarded Donald Trump is.
Yeah,
it's still really fucking bad. How bad he does not understand the voting process in this country, and how he willingly denied ever trying to learn for the better. He knew and just didn't care.
Yeah, and there were a ton of lies that they brought up. Like, I never learned specifically, but they brought up the, what, is it Dinesh D'Souza's, his mule comment?
Yes.
So, go into that, because I don't actually remember that.
I don't remember too much about Dinesh D'Souza's mule comment, but basically it was that people were promised... It was pretty racist, as it's supposed to be, I believe.
Is it like a reference to the 2 acres and a mule type thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's exactly what it's a reference to. Basically, that the Democrats promised something equivalent to the 2 acres and a mule, which was the original agreement that slaves were supposed to get after they were freed, which was never given to us, which is partially why black people are still, unequal and deal with all the shit that we have to do today. But that's neither here nor there now.
Yeah, other lies that were brought were like the common one, which was
Hugo Chavez.
Yes, the ghost of Hugo Chavez being a influencer in the election, which what?
So
that was a Sidney Powell thing, wasn't it?
Yes. So what I need to explain to you about this one is ghosts don't fucking exist.
Yeah.
And second of all, if ghosts did exist, Hugo Chavez could give fuck all about right now. If he's a ghost, he's dealing with a whole bunch of other shit. But also, ghosts don't fucking exist, so that entire claim was so fucking retarded, but it spread so much that it needed to be addressed.
Yeah, and other common lies were the bins under the tables.
Which was, yes, there was a bin under the table. Because it was a room filled of mail-in ballots that they were trying to count.
Yeah, because the common lie was, a bunch of Biden votes just appeared under the table, which,
It was like, no, this was a room where all the mail-in ballots were stored for when they were ready to count.
Which, obviously, since there were a lot of mail-in ballots, they just wanted to use that as an excuse to stop Biden votes from getting in.
Yeah, some people also talked about how, there was a truck that came in with all these votes. Yeah, that was a mail truck filled with mail-in ballots. Of course, a mail truck would deliver mail-in ballots to a ballot counting office.
Yeah. Another thing that was actually pointed out was like the anger that happened behind the scenes when Fox announced Arizona.
Yeah, so as it turns out, and I mean, I've known this for a while, and generally, the only time I ever trust Fox News is during election coverage, because, to be fair, they do have some of the best election tracking coverage out there.
Because the big thing that angered them was the fact that they called Arizona first and far earlier than anybody else.
Yeah.
So much to the point that it's been pretty common knowledge, weeks after the election, that this pissed off Trump.
Oh, it pissed off everyone in the conservative sphere that Fox called it so early. But I mean, the only time you should really trust Fox News is when they're doing election tracking, because they got the best in the business.
They kind of do, yeah.
They got the best in the business, and I remember when that first came out, my dad was incredulous about it. He's like, how could they possibly, what? I was like, I believe it. I believe Fox News would say that. Because why? I would be like, listen, what point does Fox News have in lying about who won?
Yeah.
During the actual tracking of the election. Especially Biden winning Arizona, why would they lie about that? Think about that. Why would they call it early as a lie? It made no sense. So, of course, they were correct, and Arizona did go to Biden.
Yeah. And there was another thing.
Pennsylvania.
I feel like, no, something to do with, like, the actual bringing in a balance. I feel like there was another big one that I'm missing out on.
The truck?
Not the truck. Oh, no, the Dominion voting systems being responsible for
switching a bunch of votes. They believe that the Dominion voting systems would believe that they could switch a vote from Biden to Trump. There was a Wi-Fi signal in the corner.
Which means it was connected to the internet. Which, oh my god, we do not educate our population enough. Oh my god.
I don't even want to fully address that statement because that was so subhumanly retarded. Like, honestly. You subliterate troglodytes. What the fuck is wrong with you? Anyways, no, that didn't happen. Dominion machines were not in any way capable of switching the to Biden or vice versa. Not possible. Did not happen. Trump just didn't get as many votes. And mind you, many of his campaign staff knew that this would happen because Trump disincentivized people from voting via mail and instead tried to get them to vote on Election Day. Which, if you know anything about American elections, you should know that voting by mail, one, makes it easier for everyone on both sides to vote, and two, increases voter turnout because voting days are not considered a holiday.
In fact, he was actually told that by his staffers himself.
Yes. In America, voting day is not a holiday. It is just a regular day, meaning people still have to go to school, people still have to go to work. Like, everything about the day runs exactly normal, except there are long lines for people to wait. And if you have a job and you have shit to do, you don't have time to go in and vote. And the fact that Trump really hammered home to his electorate that they should not vote via mail and they should do a voting day meant that a lot of them just simply didn't have time to go in to vote. Meaning he ended up getting less votes. Mind you, he still had a historic amount of votes for any Republican candidate ever.
I don't think that was enough to influence his loss.
Oh, it's definitely not enough to influence his loss. However, it is enough to end mail-in voting, which led to a lot of the lies.
Yes.
Mind you, he still got a historic amount of votes for any Republican candidate in the history of this country. So it's not like it hurt him too much.
It just so happened that Biden had an even more historic turnout.
Exactly. But yeah, so all of that combined for say that Trump was very incompetent in the lead up to the actual election itself.
Yeah. Which ultimately I think that the most recent hearing served its purpose as far as trying to prove ultimately that Trump was knowledgeable beyond a reasonable doubt that what he was spreading was false.
Yes. Like, for example, the fact that Bill Barr said that there was no election tampering actually got him into a massive screaming match with Trump in the Oval Office.
Yeah.
Trump berated him, screaming at him, saying, "You don't love Trump," with Trump speaking about himself in the third person. Which, I knew Trump was deranged. I didn't think he was that deranged, though.
You didn't think he was that deranged?
Start speaking about yourself in the third person? Come on. Trump? I can't see Trump speak about himself in the third person.
You wouldn't?
No.
You really wouldn't?
He's more of a first person type of guy. It's about me. Me. I and me. I and me. I and me. I can see that about Trump. I cannot see third person.
See, but he also thinks of himself. Whenever he thinks about himself, he also does think about his brand.
But it's him. It's about him, though. It's about him, the person. But when someone says Trump, they talk about him. Not his brand, they talk about him.
Okay, fair
That's
enough.
why I wasn't thinking about... That's why it was kind of weird when they said he was speaking about himself in third person.
I can see it happening. I'm going to be honest with you.
I couldn't. But, yeah, it ended up with a massive screaming match when Bill Barr said that, yeah, no, there was no election fraud. Many members of his staff frequently got berated for not saying for not saying there was fraud, because there was no fraud.
Yeah, remember the outrage that came out after? Was it the chief of staff or who said that the election was the most secure out of any other election before?
I believe it was the FBI.
Was it the FBI?
I know the Justice Department also said it. There were many people within the government that was saying it, and Trump was pissed at every last one of them.
Yeah.
Yes, Rudy Giuliani was very heavily peddling the bullshit machine. In fact, Trump's B team of legal experts basically quit because it was such bullshit, and they were completely just tossed out of the loop, where they were trying to see if there was any standing, of which there was none, and they tried to convince Trump that there is no standing and you shouldn't be doing this.
I mean, they were called the normal group.
Exactly.
They were the normal group of lawyers, whereas you had Powell and Giuliani on the other side, and it's like,
no, that's the psychos.
Yeah, those are the schizos over there.
Yeah. On top of that, they also talked about the fact that Trump was robbing his voters, because remember all those Trump emails about, the Save the Election Fund type bullshit.
And no, it was much more malicious than that.
No, I know, but it was like, that was the name of the fund.
Yeah, like, it was extremely malicious, like, you are letting the Trump army down.
You are letting, President Trump personally is giving you one more day to give donations to help save the country. And you are letting the president down. You have let the vice president down. You have let Jared down. You have let Ivanka down. You have let the president down. Like, it was so aggressive.
Oh, and you know the poor 70 and 80-year-olds ate that up.
Oh, yeah, I know. It was pretty fucking aggressive. And, of course, the January 6th Commission revealed that it was all a scam. None of that money went anywhere.
Yeah, that was the other thing that was proven, is that all of the fundraising that they did not go towards the investigation of whether or not it was.
It all went to just PACs and corporations.
Pretty much. Yeah, because if anyone doesn't remember, back when they actually started bringing the fraudulent cases to court, which was about 60 of them, none of them were for arguing fraud.
Yeah, what was it about to say? I believe,
because literally...
wasn't it like 72 cases were brought forward, and one of them they won. And the one that they won would not have changed the vote count at all.
Yeah, because there was even one where the judge asked, well, if this isn't for fraud, then why are you here?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it got that ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, so many judges so many Trump-appointed judges at that, threw those cases out because they were so frivolous and so dumb that the judges were like, I cannot be bothered to do this bullshit. But I would like to remind you all of something. Yes, there were a lot of people in Trump's side that were against him. But look at how far he got just with the limited amount of people that were on his side. Imagine what could happen if only a couple more people were on his side. We'd be in a very different America right now. And I say that as to say that, democracy in our country is not safe when these people are in power. Because look how far they got with all the lies that they did. We are still uncovering all of the lies that they've gone through. Just from the lies that we already have known publicly, it is enough for Trump to be prosecuted on criminal charges. Can you imagine what else they have left? There are 13 other hearings we have left?
I thought it was 7.
7 to 13 other hearings left about this shit.
Yeah, this is going to carry on for a while. Hopefully it helps us out in the midterms, but knowing how gerrymandered we are royally fucked.
No, it's not about how gerrymandered are. It's how limp dick the Democrats are, and how they haven't been screaming from the rooftops about how this was very much an attack on our democracy, and our Republicans, part and parcel, allowed it to happen, have downplayed its significance, and are very much allowing it to happen again.
And unfortunately, it looks like the Amber Heard trial is going to be the one that has more cultural impact than this.
Yes, because how to ever push anything correctly. All they do is they just do this whole civility politics, bipartisan bullshit, while Republicans fucking steamroll them in the court of public opinion by astroturfing them with the most fascist right-wing shit imaginable. And Democrats sit there twiddling their fucking thumbs like, oh, if they go low, we go high. Bitch, that's not how that fucking works. If they go low, you don't go high. If they go low, you're gonna get fucking hit in the stomach, dumbass!
Yeah, and unfortunately, you know I'm right. That trial, definitely over one day, will have more viewings than public hearing.
Exactly, because no one on the Democrats is promoting this. No one on the Democrats is talking about the fact, and you know what? For as much as they complain, for much as they preach about bipartisan civility politics, this should be the thing that they focus on, because the vice chair of the committee is Liz Cheney, a fucking Republican, the daughter of Vice President Dick Cheney at that. If you wanted to push bipartisanship, you should be pushing this committee out the fucking ass. But Biden isn't doing shit, Kamala isn't doing shit, Pelosi isn't doing shit, Schumer isn't doing shit, the squad ain't doing shit, no one's doing shit.
Yep.
No one is doing shit to talk about the fact that we very closely lost democracy. And that the criminal president that instituted it may just walk free despite ample evidence to the crimes committed on a massive scale. So many people within his party, so many people within his White House have said that it was all a lie, it was all purposeful that it was a lie, but nothing. In fact, we're learning even more about the connection that Fox News has had to all of this shit.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that Fox, for being the propaganda agency that it is by any of its rivals, is fucking infuriating. We've all known that Fox News is a propaganda agency, but this trial is showing just how intertwined the upper echelons of Fox News was with this plot to destroy democracy. And no one is talking about it.
Yeah, for example, like it was obvious during the insurrection that Sean Hannity was having contact with, what's her name?
Ginny Thomas.
No, Kayleigh McEnany.
Oh, yeah. Oh, but also Ginny Thomas. She was also talking to Ginny Thomas at the time as well. Who, once again, that's another thing they should be blowing up. The fact that a Supreme Court Justice's wife was in on the entire thing the entire time.
Yeah. But ultimately, everything that we did learn today, ultimately shouldn't be brushed off.
It shouldn't be. Like, the things that you should take forward. And I believe that everyone should do their due diligence and watch every committee hearing that happens. Because at the end of the day, this is the real story of what's been going on behind the scenes of our country. This is a real story of government corruption happening on a massive scale to the point where they try to circumvent democracy itself. One of the bedrocks for not just our country, but for a majority of countries in the Western world and several countries in the Eastern world.
Yeah.
It is a bedrock to a whole bunch of societies. And if the largest one can get toppled over, come on. The saying has always been, if it can happen somewhere, it can happen anywhere. Here, it sure shit will happen anywhere.
I will wrap up this segment by saying, with Fox News not being able to show, or not being willing to show this,
they did actually start showing it.
They did show the second one?
Yes, they did show it, but they did their Fox News thing and all just said it was a show trial.
Yeah. No, the funniest thing was that they said it was a hyper-edited, super excitable trial that was boring.
Yeah, that's just like your opinion, man. But also, it's because they're wholly a part of this. And I hate them.
They really think their audience is stupid. They really do.
I will not say anything further about that matter.
I know what's going on in your head.
I will not say anything. I will not say anything in regards to that statement. I will let that statement land as it did. Anyways,
I think that just about wraps up everything.
Oh yeah, well, just one other thing I want to talk about. The groups that were involved were the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, and others, and we just learned that Enrique Tarrio, who was the leader of the Proud Boys at the time, was given plans to occupy congressional buildings and the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm.
Huh. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Oh yeah, and this is completely unrelated, but very funny. Lauren Boebert escort and had abortions.
Oh yeah. Do you want to talk about that for like 5 minutes?
I mean, there's nothing much to say. Being an escort isn't bad. Having an abortion isn't bad.
There's actually a lot to talk about because
really,
actually, The people that are doing that, the American Muckrakers pack, is the ones who brought down Madison Cawthorn.
Oh, but they brought down Madison Cawthorn because he pointed out the fact that they were having cocaine-filled orgies.
No, like they brought out a bunch of they brought out the.
Yeah, they brought out the femboy shit.
Yeah. So they're doing the same with her. Now, of course, as leftists, we've got to say we have nothing wrong with sex work.
And there's nothing wrong with being a femboy either. See, that's the problem I have with these things, is that...
ultimately aimed for Republicans because that's what they think is degenerate.
Yeah, it's like... the problem I have with these things is like, yay, Madison Cawthorn's being canceled. Why is he being canceled? He's a femboy? So fucking what? Lauren Boebert's being canceled. Why is she being canceled? Oh, she was an escort and she had an abortion. I don't give a fuck.
But here's the thing: it goes much deeper than that.
Okay.
So I gotta go and say allegedly because they did just come out with this information this week. So the validity of these statements cannot be proven yet.
Listen, I went on a 45-minute rant about Young Justice. Go off.
So there are a lot of receipts. We don't know the validity yet, but we can continue. This links up to Ted Cruz.
I am now 5% more interested in this. Explain how this will connect to our good old friend Raphael.
So, apparently, as her job as an escort, it actually led her up, allegedly, to her meeting up with the Koch brothers.
Okay, that doesn't surprise me.
Okay, so in a way, that it ultimately led to her being introduced to Ted Cruz, who encouraged her, again, I gotta say, allegedly, but it encouraged her to run for office, and thus he donated to her campaign, and then she actually had to clarify that those were there because there were irregularities between her campaign finances and his campaign finances because his office donated to her campaign.
Oh.
So yeah, it goes much deeper than you think.
And so he met her while she was...
I think she just had ideas for politics and then was introduced to him. It's not clear if he had a working or if she had a professional relationship with him. So I can't make that assumption.
Huh. Well then. So my new headcanon is that the Koch brothers and Ted Cruz made her airtight. I mean, we know Ted Cruz is a degenerate. Remember, this man retweeted incest porn. Remember, he is a degenerate. He retweeted incest porn on his official account. Mind you, it was, the stereotypical, what are you doing, stepmom? But, you know.
I have said some degenerate stuff on this podcast. You have surpassed every other instance just with that comment. You have, congratulations. You have surpassed me. And remember, we dedicated a whole episode to Morbius. So, just because of my input.
Listen. You are the one that brought up the fact that she met the Koch brothers through her, job. And that also meant that she met Ted Cruz. And also you brought up that the group that took her down, that took her down, is the same group that talked about Madison Cawthorn. I mean, come on. We know Republicans are degenerates. We know they are dirty degenerates like the rest of us. They just like to be holier and thou and pretend that they're not. And come on.
So yeah,
you don't think they hit it before? You don't think that Ted Cruz didn't hit it? Come on.
So
MTG was, your stereotypical wine mom that was cheating on her husband with her fucking personal trainer. So, come on.
And probably also has a thing for Trump. She touched a cardboard cutout of Trump's crotch. Let's be honest here.
Ugh.
In front of a crowd.
Ugh. Ew. 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 shit is disgusting. That's fucking disgusting. Man, well, at least now I know one other Republican that likes Ted Cruz. I used to always talk about how Ted Cruz is the most hated Republican ever. But, I mean... Now the question is, do you think Lauren Boebert tops Nancy Reagan as the throat goat?
Oh my god, you're really gonna do this now. You're really gonna do this to me now.
Does she top Nancy Reagan as the throat goat?
No, her.
Oh my god.
You're horrible.
Oh god.
You're absolutely horrible. I hope you know that.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. But come on. Oh god, just. Stop spreading those deeply misogynist rumors about Lauren Boebert. See, this is the thing that I am, that always gets me. When the conservatives talk about how this is deeply misogynistic, that saying that Lauren Boebert is an escort. Here's the thing. Lauren Boebert being an... Oh my fucking god!
What? You found her modeling pictures?
Yes! What the fuck? I didn't know her tits were that big. What the fuck?
Can you stop?
There's no way that's the... Oh my god, it's the same person.
Yeah,
it's the nose.
Yeah, because she's got different colored hair in those pictures, she looks completely different, but it's her.
You can tell by the hair texture and the nose it's the same person.
And
I did not realize her tits were that big. Jesus Christ.
Please do not start finding these conservatives attractive, please, for the love of God.
Oh my god.
Stop!
Ass is still kind of flat.
Bonk.
Okay, anyways, as I was saying, there is nothing wrong with being an escort, because sex work is work, and just because you have sex for work does not make you any lesser than anyone. And even if she had an abortion, so fucking what? Abortions aren't bad either. So that's the thing that I always find the most funny with Republicans that talk about how, oh my god, this is so, like, misogynistic. It's misogynistic when you think of it as a negative thing. But if you point out that she was these things and that it's hypocritical for Republicans to hold her up as someone about family values but tear down that do the same thing except they just have a different political opinion, that's just pointing out hypocrisy.
Yeah. And ultimately, this was because before the time she allegedly started, her restaurant did go bankrupt. Or it was either her or her restaurant. I can't remember.
I mean, she got it, so might as well.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, being an escort, and it seems like she was a pretty good escort, at least she was gotten in the escort community pretty well, can be very lucrative, seeing as how she met a lot of powerful people. It could be pretty lucrative. It is a good career... No, I shouldn't say that. It's not necessarily a good career path because sex work is very dangerous. Bad actors involved.
It could be if properly regulated.
If properly regulated and if properly done, can be a very lucrative career path. And so her going to escort work after having a failed restaurant, isn't actually all that bad. I think it's actually pretty smart because a lot of people, if they had lost a restaurant, a lot of people would have just fucking gave up.
Yeah.
And mind you, I'm not trying to sit here and be like, oh yeah, Lauren Boebert's better than most people because she didn't give up. But what I am saying is that she took what she got. Yeah. She took what she got. Life dealt her a hand, and she's like, you know what? I'm pretty. I'm going to try and be an escort and see. And hey, she did make it work. So kudos to her.
She made it work all the way up to the devil. She made a deal with them, and now we can drag her through the mud from there.
I resent you calling Ted Cruz the devil. He is not that big. Come on now. Don't put him up. That's an insult to the devil.
I knew you were going to do that.
That is an insult to the devil. Don't put Ted Cruz up there. Get Ted Cruz down from there. He's going to hurt himself. Get him down. Get him down from there. And he is not that high.
And mind you, this isn't her first controversy because...
Wasn't her other controversy bringing a fucking gun into the Capitol?
There's that. But one's like way before she even ran. Like one where she deliberately sold her clients soiled meat. Actually, was it soiled or No. Her restaurant just sold bad meat, I think it was.
No wonder she went bankrupt.
Yeah.
Goddamn.
And there was other ones involving her husband.
Okay, well, okay, it depends. If it's just, it depends. Because I do not like this idea of holding certain people accountable for things their spouses did unless it's truly reprehensible.
I gotta look this up because I think it is that bad.
Really?
Yeah, I think it is that bad. I think it has to do with indecent exposure.
But that's not necessarily her.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hold that against her.
It's just controversies associated with her name.
Yeah, fair enough. I wouldn't hold that against her, though. Oh, yes! I do remember the other politics segment we needed to talk about. It's a double politics/entertainment segment. We needed to talk about Ezra Miller!
Oh my god, how did I forget about this?
Once you mentioned indecent exposure, Ezra Miller. Yes, let us talk about DC's favorite fuck-up, Ezra Miller!
Now, as much as I want to jump on the bandwagon here because, like I've said in multiple previous segments, I hate him as the Flash. God damn it, I forget. I am so sorry. They are a very bad actor, and I resent them for ever being casted. But mind you, this is very serious, so I'm going to withhold myself for the coming few minutes, even though I am bursting at the seams to tear into them as much as I can.
Yes.
Ezra Miller has been found to have been grooming and has kidnapped and groomed a teenage girl.
Yes. So, first of all, I want to say no props to the parents whatsoever. Because if what they are saying is true, they allowed a 14-year-old girl to travel cross-continent with a 23-year-old man. With a 25-year-old man. At the time identifying as a man. Which, I don't care who the fuck you are, that is an absolute no. And, if the rumors are true, Ezra Miller was in contact with this girl when they were 23 and she was 12.
You can't help it either. It's tough.
It is tough because they've been going by he, him for a while, but yes, they, them. But yes, Ezra Miller was in contact with this girl while they were 23 and she was 12. They were nearly twice her age.
Yeah, so
I am horrible, despicable. Throw them under the fucking jail.
So what needs to be done is that the entire Flash script needs to be rewritten before the next coming months when it releases.
Yes, I have come up with the perfect fix for this, which is that the entire time Ezra Miller has been playing the Reverse Flash who had gotten cosmetic surgery to look like Barry Allen. Yes, that is comic book accurate. Yes, there's a comic book storyline. So yes, it could work.
Exactly.
And I've also proposed that the real Flash all along was Grant Gustin. But back to the shitstorm themselves. So, this is not the first time Ezra Miller has been in, controversy because, they were terrorizing Hawaii. They did threaten to murder a husband and wife couple.
Yep. I've gone into extensive detail in our previous episodes because I love tearing into them because, let's face it, they're a terrible Flash.
They were a terrible Flash, but that has nothing to do with the fact that they are ultimately a terrible human being. Yes. The fact that they are getting away with, I don't know if they're going to get away with this. I mean, from what I last read, it seems like they are on the run. I don't think that's accurate. It's more that they just haven't found them.
So the biggest thing that's going on is that the courts can't find a place to properly serve him. Because ultimately, the courts want to find them and her and bring them into court.
Yes, the daughter has been saying that all of this is a lie and that her father and mother are just lying. To be honest, I am not 100% sure how much I want to believe that.
Especially if this relationship started while she was a minor.
Not just a minor, a 12-year-old. Yeah. A 12-year-old!
Which could easily lead the way to her attaching herself to them.
Exactly. So I don't know how much I want to believe that, but if this is true, and it's looking like it is, Ezra Miller is a right piece of shit. And oh my god, this person was supposed to be the face of DC moving forward. Can you believe that?
I never wanted to. Never in my life would I been able to admit it, and now I don't have to.
Yeah, to be honest, the only reason why this film has not been canceled is unions. Once the film is 90% completed, they cannot cancel it because that goes against union rules. But if this film was less than 90% completed, I imagine they would have been throwing this shit into the fucking furnace as fast as they can.
Yeah, the only reason I'm not clapping like a seal and just being overjoyous about this is ultimately because a minor has been abused, and I feel like that's not really that much of a laughing matter.
Yeah,
so as much as to them, I don't feel right doing it.
Yeah,
I really
just every time I've seen Ezra Miller in the news, it's always been a crime, and I've always thought, like, yeah, they're a terrible person, but at least the levels of their terror wasn't, like, so bad. Like, threatening people with death, I thought, you know what, that's pretty bad, you need help, you need to be, like, sent somewhere to be given help, because this is completely inappropriate.
Because that's typically something like, oh, actor gone crazy.
Yeah.
This, on the other hand,
it seemed like prior they were going under some type of psychotic break. This, however, establishes a pattern of abusive behavior that extends long past this crime spree that's currently happening, which means that they have far more issues than we first imagined, and they are far more morally depraved than we first imagined, and they desperately need to, one, be helped. They need help. They need a lot of help. But two, also be punished for the actions that they did, and hopefully rehabilitated so whenever they return to society, they're a better person for it.
Yes.
But right now, that's not looking like to happen because I don't think they can find them. Find them.
Yeah, exactly. They still can't serve them anywhere because they're just on the run.
Yes, and I don't care. I don't want any of you fucking ebophiles coming out and saying, well, actually, the age of consent, and shut the fuck up. It's a fucking minor, you dumbasses. Stop trying to justify this shit.
Oh, God, that's disgusting. Is that actually happening?
That happens every time.
Oh, God.
Listen, remember, we were in the Smash community. Come on. Come on.
Stop ruining my hopes for humanity.
You remember Ally and Captain Zack?
Stop it.
Exactly.
I want to be still optimistic about the human race. Please stop that.
I mean, we can be optimistic about the human race, but we still need to be frank and real about them.
We're a plague on this planet.
Yep. So, yeah, that was the other entertainment/politics segment, because the politics surrounding this is that, unfortunately, this is something that the right wing, if they so choose to run with, could run with this to say, see, we told you the entire time that these LGBT people were nothing but child groomers and pedophiles. And I hate that. Because this is an example of a high-profile person that is gender non-binary, who is a member of the LGBT community, grooming a child. Yep. In very explicit terms. And of course, there's also had to be an AMAB person. For those that don't know, AMAB means assigned male at birth, which makes it worse because those are the normal people that conservatives will fearmonger about when they think of the LGBT community.
Yeah. Thankfully, it looks like this is going to go right under them. They haven't weaponized this yet.
I wouldn't be so sure. I saw their tweet about it.
Oh, no.
Yes, remember, noted terrorist, and she is a terrorist, Lauren Southern, was tweeting about it, and she's not a nobody.
Yeah, she's not a nobody, definitely. Let's just hope this one doesn't reach the politicians.
God, if I see a Tucker Carlson segment on it, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind.
Anyway, that should just about wrap things up.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a long segment, unfortunately influenced by a thunderstorm.
Yeah.
But that's all par for the course.
Yep. So yeah, we had a
lengthy segment or lengthy episode.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was pretty good. Next week we will be talking more about Kenobi. It will be the season finale. We will also be talking about Miss Marvel, which will be the mid-season point of the season. We will also probably talk about, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there another commission hearing this week?
I don't believe so. Who knows? Maybe something comes up in a recent primary. I think there was one this week, although I don't think anything came up of it.
I just heard that a couple Republicans have been losing to Trump-backed challengers.
There was a Texas blue safe district that flipped red. I know that.
Oh God.
Oh yeah, no, it's yeah.
Either way, whatever it may be, we will be coming to you next week. And if you guys have noticed, episodes are now being re-uploaded to Spotify because finally we have invested into an external hard drive. So we are now able to back up all of our episodes, and now they will be rolled out onto Spotify within the coming weeks, as well as minor updates and edits to existing VODs that we have on YouTube.
Yep.
So, like, comment,